So I'm delighted to welcome Theresa. She was teaching last time with Carrickmacross, but she's going to give us a talk on her journey from, I suppose, the traditional side of Carrickmacross and lace into something a bit more contemporary. I've had a look at the photos, they're amazing, so I'm really excited for this. So I'd just like to welcome Theresa.
Thanks a million. Thank you. Okay, I'll give a little background first. My name is Theresa Kelly. I'm from Mullingar, and I always say I grew up with threads because my mother, Heather, over here, she had a sewing room in the house, and that was our happy spot. So our happy space was actually the sewing room. I often felt like a deprived child because everything I had was handmade. And I had three sisters, and we used to the same pattern, different colorway, you know, two was the same colorway, two was in different color all the time, you know, so that's where I grew up. Then I went to Sligo to do art and design down in Sligo, and I did a really short course on up in NCAD on it was called creative embroidery at the time. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Creative embroidery at the time. And then we moved to County Monaghan. So before we start off there, this is my first slide, and there'll be a little bit more about this slide in a minute. And I consider myself a Carrickmacross lace maker visual artist. And this is a contemporary piece of lace. And why is it a contemporary piece of Carrickmacross lace? It has three of the classic techniques that you find in Carrickmacross. You have your applique, you have your guipure work, and we have our loops. Okay, what makes it contemporary is the loops are not around the edge, and the guipure work in the center is built in relief. It's three-dimensional. It comes out a little bit from that. It was actually made around the top of a deodorant. And you know, the circle deodorant was actually made around that at the time, because it was an early enough one, I think, or perhaps, yeah, anyway. So that's a contemporary piece of lace. I think the easiest way to tell you my journey is to go through the history of lace. We ended up in County Monaghan, and I wanted to do a night class, cheap entertainment, 2 children at home, just let me out of the house quick. And the only class I was interested in was lace making. And I had no awareness of lace, sorry, I had no awareness of lace before this. So I hopped into the class and I met Kathleen Flanagan, who was the most amazing lace maker. Like Mary Shields, she won the gold medal at the RDS, okay then. And she had been making lace commercially since she was 7. So that's she taught me the lace. She'd been making it commercially, and she would have been about my age, a little bit older when she was teaching me. Okay, then I know she sold to the Louis sisters, who are hard taskmasters, and like she sold to individual people, places around there. So I went in the first day, and she had patterns, and she gave me a pattern, but it was shamrock. So I changed that very quickly to ivy leaves, which is very easy. Just put a little tail in your shamrocks, and I had ivy leaves because I really wasn't that interested in doing shamrocks. And as I was coming to the end of it, I asked her, could she bring in some patterns for me? And she brought in a big case the next week, and I opened it, and it was shamrocks, and it was harps, and it was swans, and it was double swans, of shamrocks, harps. And I said, no, there's nothing there I want. And she was this good. She went home and she found another case and bought it in of older patterns. And she bought, I saw this piece, okay then, and it had been a veil, a big long veil. You can see the kind of horseshoe shapes there. So that had been a veil, a very long square veil, with horseshoe shapes. It was a wedding veil. So I adapted it to make a bolero. And as I said, it was my third piece. We're not looking at how the stitches are or anything like that. What I wanted to learn was the techniques, the different techniques from it there, okay? So this here is the front, that was the back panel. So this here is the front of it, and I have the same motifs at the side of it here. And you can see that the center of that flower is very close to the design of the swan. It's a very, you know what I mean? If you think of the wings of the swan there, it's that particular design. I do think it was made by the last, or design. I saw a photograph of Ethne Hughes, who was the last great designer from the Louis sisters, who worked in the Louis sister lace school. I just saw a photograph of it much later on, of her just kind of not modeling it, but just throwing it around her shoulders and making a photograph. She died very young, and she was going to do amazing things like open up the lace to loads of people. But as I said, she passed away before she got the chance. But she was a really fine designer. So started doing fashion items. I was working on my own at this stage. And this I made for my sister, who met her husband traveled around Papua New Guinea and Australia together. It's a sleeve and the front bodice of the dress there. You can see the Stuart Desert Pea. I don't know if you know Australian wildflowers. So the Stuart Desert Pea, Mommy, is one of the Australian flowers. My mum's Australian. There was orchids there that came from Papua New Guinea, and they had loads of other flowers there. So I just adapted that. My mother made that dress. She put all the pleats into the front of it. It isn't the sleeves, but a different set of sleeves that I'd made for it, but it's based on bindweed there. And so my sister's dress around the front of the bodice here had a piece going around it there. That's why there's a bit of plain work there in it. This here is a shawl that I would have made, and it's made on cotton net. And I call it Suburban Gardens because of the flowers or what you find in gardens there. It's quite a long shawl. Now I've been making fashion items, and you've got to remember this is the late 80s. And I walked Dublin 2 days trying to get somebody interested in taking my designs or working with my designs, but nobody mustn't have had the money. So I couldn't sell them, or else they wanted, and that took 6 months, and 6 months solid work. Or else they wanted them for nothing. I mean, and they still want them for nothing, but they wanted it for nothing. And I would give my work away rather than somebody pay me nothing for my work, you know. So I'm lucky. I have 2 lovely shawls. So I've got a daughter and a daughter-in-law who will, or yeah, my son's wife will have a beautiful shawl each, even if I say so myself. Okay, I know I'm very bold. Okay, now I'm just jumped up. This is my daughter's wedding dress from 2 years ago, so it is. And it's just the front of the bodice around here. And they are so simple. They are just the little flowers, and they're all a variety of flowers just to plicate on. So they're all made individually, but they're really, really easy to do. Carrickmacross lace is such a beautiful lace. It's such an easy lace. But I just threw it in there because it's another fashion item there. Okay, then I swore that I was going to make 3 a week. Do you know what I mean? Coming up to the wedding. But you leave it all to the last minute, don't you? So what I had to do, because I didn't have enough, I actually used some of the material that was in her dress to fill some blank areas there. Okay, then. So next I moved to join the lace gallery. Okay, then, so I joined the lace gallery. I know it isn't a great photograph. It's the only image I have at this time. You can see that I very quickly started breaking out of the traditional doilies, were very popular with tourists. So that's the only one I have of that one there. In 1995, we were having, and we had our first or our only festival with the Clonus Lace, Mabel MacDonald and Myra Traynor, the Carrickmacross Lace Co-op, and the museum, Monaghan Museum. They have a very fine collection in Monaghan Museum. So this is the piece I made for that, specifically for that, because I kind of felt that it would be just so difficult to compete. Not that you're competing, but the traditional lace is so full, so beautiful. You know what I mean? What could I do that was different? So it was the start. Three-dimensional lace. Lace is very humbling in the kind of sense you're never the first. No matter what you do with the lace, it's been done before. You know what I mean? So three-dimensional lace had been done. Don't know if it's been done on such a large scale, but I know I would have done this flat. Okay, then. So I would have done a flat and then I would, you know, been working on that. Nothing happens in isolation. Everything kind of goes along. So I made that and still kind of some parts was quite flat. And the base of it there is very much so based on traditional pure lace down there at the bottom of it there. So I would have always referred back to old lace. Now, this is the next one. This is the next one of the series where it's broken up completely, where it's gone away completely from the flat. It's very much so three-dimensional and moving it along there. So I did loads of the flower series at that stage there, and that was very fortunate. We had been, Martha Hughes had won, like you, the John Bull, was it the John Bull Award in England? Yeah, Martha Hughes in England had won the John Bull Award in 1994, 1995. And the World Lace Congress was coming up in Turku in Finland. And they invited Martha to show her piece, which she sent her piece over to England to display it with her lace guild, with their lace guild over there. And she said, well, she said, should I go on the tour as well, do you know? And she asked me, would I be interested? And I said, God, I'd definitely be interested if we could bring our own lace. If we could bring our own Carrickmacross lace. We knew nothing. I knew nothing about the World Lace Congress. I knew nothing about them. But I knew they were having an exhibition. I said, sure, we'll apply. You know, we'll apply. We'll just go to them and apply. So we applied for them. And that's the lovely thing about lace. It's quite, you can bring it anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Wraps up quite small. So we bought some of the co-op work with us, the Lace Gallery co-op work with us. And we were allowed to put 3 pieces into a competition there. We put them into another competition, but we were supposed to have that done months ago. So we put it into one competition. And that one there won the adjudicators, or not the adjudicators, a public award. So the public were allowed to go around and vote their favorite piece of the show. So that got piece of the show, won the 2 awards. So very pleased. Funny, just one little byproduct of that. When we got onto the bus and we said they were beautiful, very good to us. Yeah. And when we got onto the bus, they asked me what kind of lace I made. And I said, what kind of laces I made? And I said, I make Carrickmacross lace. Oh, we kept Carrickmacross lace alive. That's what they assumed. You know, so that was the first thing. And I kind of kept my powder dried. I said, no, you know, I know I said the lady who had taught me had been making Carrickmacross lace for 70 years at that stage and had a continuous tradition of it being kept alive. And then when they heard that I only made 1 lace, you know, that was again, gosh, you only make 1 lace and then you sell your lace. That was completely sacrilege going down there. And lace itself has a hierarchical system. Like I know needlepoint lace is really, really fine, but you'd needlepoint lace right up at the top, you know, pure needlepoint lace. Then you had your bobbin lace. Okay, then, and that was next rung down, next class down. And then we had Carrickmacross lace, which was really, truly not a lace because it was a plique lace. I'm talking now about the 1980s, the plique lace. And then we had our crochet lace, you know, which was really done with a hook. And then they had then they came down to the very bottom rung was the rings, you know, those beautiful Shetland knitted that go through a ring. Those, you know, that was hardly even considered a lace, you know. So I just said, oh my goodness, even within lace, you have a class system. So anyway, there's that. So I started working on the background, you know, changing the color of the background. This is done with felt and acrylic paint there. And here's a more modern one that I kind of feel myself that, I'll just go back to the last one at the moment. Look, flower arranging, if you do flower arranging, I can remember somebody got a critique once saying there wasn't room for the butterflies to move around. You know, this is pure flower arrangement. That was a critique she got from the adjudicators. And I really like the beautiful flower arranging you see in Japan. And they just concentrate on very few images, you know what I mean? So that made me think that not every pattern or not every technique had to go into a piece. Not every technique. You were allowed to just move out beyond a technique. So now my work is more or less based on one flower, you know, and leaving room to see the silhouette of the piece, you know, and that's kind of what traditional lace, you see a very strong silhouette within it there. And this here is a more modern one. It's almost isolating. It's isolating, and the technique, it's just details of it. So I've isolated the techniques of the buttonhole, okay, the loops, okay, the pops there, and just using the threads where I just need the threads, just looking at the flower and the flower dictating what the image is going to be, rather working with the lace, you know what I mean? It doesn't play secondary to the lace. You know, this is why this talk is going to be quite controversial. So that's a more modern piece again there, just threw it in there. Okay. So we're moving up to the millennium there, to what I would do for the millennium. And this stage, my work didn't kind of suit the co-op, so I'd moved out on my own at this stage, and the RDS. And it came up to thinking of Newgrange and the light shining down Newgrange and the open light shining down there. And this was all done on slate because slate is stone. So that's why this is why the slate went into it here, there. And that would have been the first now of definitely the high relief work that I would have done there. And that one was definitely done around the deodorant stick. We've moved on since that, top of the deodorant. So, and the feathers came into it there. They're self-explanatory, and the feathers play an equally important part as the lace does. It works as a unit. And if you think of, you go back to Elizabeth I's collars and things like that, the lace was never seen in isolation. The lace was always seen with the finest of jewelry, the finest of fabrics, you know, the gold, silver. You know, it was not on its own, it was to be displayed with other things. And I just choose to use more organic. I can't afford the gold, the silver, the jewelry, you know, the brocade. So I just choose to use more organic shapes. So not justifying it, but just the way my mind works there for that, okay? So this is another one of the series there, of that one there. Sunrise, Sunburst and Sunray, it was called, and again, the feathers working in it. And I know the design of that came from a sea urchin, you know, the shell of a sea urchin. That's where the design for that came. Okay. This is the roof box. The bottom panel of that is taken directly from the roof box in Newgrange going down. I've done other pieces, like, you know, all based on Newgrange. Still work on Newgrange. You think you've finished a piece, and then you go to Newgrange, or you go to Lough Crew, which is my favourite of them all, Lough Crew, and you will see lovely, beautiful designs there. Okay. Now, I don't know if anybody speaks German. Heckel. Ernest Haeckel. I guess I go to museums. I learn an awful lot from museums, but I learn an awful lot from art galleries as well. So I go to art galleries looking for inspirations and things like that. I happen to be up at the Douglas Hyde Gallery in Parnell Square. I think it's called City Gallery now. And as I was going out, I happened across that little tiny book up there. It's that size. I think I've got it with me here. It's that size there, you know. Bob bought me the bigger book later on. But I looked at it, I opened it, and I said, oh my God, these are lace designs. They are ready-made lace designs. And I'm going back to the the noughties there. They're lace designs ready and doing. And I was actually doing a piece, you know, and I stopped. And I worked you see the center panel there? Yeah. And there's that piece there. It's just It's plagiarism. Pure plagiarism. You know what I mean? I saw it, I changed it, and I used it. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely there. So you can get your designs anywhere. That's actually the piece there. So it is. That's the full piece of it there. And how big is that? Oh, the frame would be that size. Do you know what I'm saying there? The frame is about that size there, you know. But you can actually see where it came from now, can't you? You know, you look at it there and you would say you could have used any one of those for Carrickmacross lace. Okay, then loads of his designs you could use. In fact, I've seen other people use it as well. You know, loads of people have since discovered the book and discovered its beauty. He influenced Harry Clark. You know, the windows in Bewley's windows there, you know, they have a lot of his, you know, his technique, you know, not his technique, but he definitely, and he would have influenced Beardsley as well, you know what I mean there. So Ernest Haeckel. And this is when I start doing the 3D. This is completely 3D, so it's on a stand there. It's and the feathers. That's one side of it. That's the front of it, and that's the back of it there. Okay, then these are. This is just, they're about that size. The lace is that size there. If you just think of it there, you know. And this actually was based. By this time, I had moved on. I used styrofoam balls, you know, to build it up there. Okay, then. That's what I would have used with that. But and also with other ones, I would make them with clay. If I wanted to make Pacific shape, I would do it, you know, the dried clay, and put a bit of styrofoam on top with those takes pins and things like that. Yeah. Now I saw this, and it's a great shot in the arm. The bottom is a fan that from the National Museum. Okay, then. And that's what I say, lace is very humbling. And this here is part of that series. And you can see the very same technique is used in early Carrickmacross lace. Okay, then, you know, you come along here and instead of doing thorns at first, instead of doing a thorn like carried it out there, would have done it on a flower, on a leaf first. And then, so you can see that no matter what you do, once I believe that I say true to the lace, okay then, that I stay true to the lace, Carrickmacross lace, I have permission to do anything. Okay then. All right. So yeah, but I hadn't seen lace done like that before. I hadn't seen that technique before until I saw it on that fan. So really it's, you know, it gave me not the confidence, because I had the confidence, but it was really that shot in the arm saying, look, it's not that, I haven't moved that far away. Because I have heard people throw me lace back and say I'm destroying the lace, but sure, it's all done with the heart of gold. Okay, people would ask where ideas come from. Where do you get ideas? Okay. And these are Mommy's rocks. During lockdown, I spent about 2 months down with Mommy down in Mullingar. And her rocks. Now this is 3D form. It's used there. I've done ceramics at college, so I was able to do, and so that's done with, that's so light. People think that piece of lace and that is very heavy. It is so light. I had been working with wood before this, and one day I was looking out, and just where will I go now? What do I do now during the lockdown? There's very little to do, but being makers, we always find something to do. But you can see you can see where it came from there, can't you really? Do you know what I'm saying? You can actually see the band there and the band going around the center of it there, the center of the bowl, the vessel there. There's just some more vessels, bits of vessels, working on it there, you know, and they're so light, because the papers, the paper itself is silk paper, so I use silk paper, and that's very easy made. So it is, you make it as you would make felt, you know, and make wet felt, you know. So and they would have been formed around buoys, you know, and stones, you know, boulders and things like that. So that's it there. Okay.
Vessels were just paper, then they were.
Yeah, they're silk paper. They're silk paper. Yeah. You make silk paper, you buy the silk fibers, okay, then.
Yeah.
And you make the silk paper between two strands of netting. You lay down your netting, you lay down your silk fibers, you lay another layer of netting on top of it, and then you just wet it with the kind of glucose or PVA, very watered down PVA there, and it makes paper. And then you make it around that. Yeah. And see, the band had to put the band in to take the paper away. You know what I mean? And just work it in there. Okay. And that's this is another one of it. It's very much so a conversation. Okay. And it's kind of isolated. You know, I just isolate particular stitches, you know what I mean? So this is very much so just the pops, you know what I mean? But it actually echoes exactly what we have there on that, you know? Now, I did cheat a little bit that I did put a little tiny bit of white on the wood bark to bring up the you know, little tiny bit of white there, and then moved it away, or then brushed it off there. But you can see it's a conversation, definitely, and I call it a conversation between the lace and the wood bark, and that's just looking at it from a side. So as you can see, now it's quite small. It's small. The lace itself, the piece of bark is only that size there, and the bark itself, I wouldn't have got it ready made like that. I would collect barks. You know what I mean? And I would piece it together like a jigsaw. Do you know jigsaw there that I didn't just particularly find? That some I would have found, but this one I didn't. Okay. Now, last year, I did an exhibition based on the works of Patrick Kavanagh's poem in the Patrick Kavanagh Centre, okay, then, and we all think of his canal walk. So when I was down in Mullingar again, there's a canal there, the Royal Canal goes through Mullingar, and the Royal Canal goes through Mullingar, and you can see this next piece. The water gushing out. See the water gushing out there? And you can see this piece just comes exactly from there, just using the colours, there again, just isolating it to the technique that I think would most suit the water running down. Okay, then go, you know, it really, you know, so you could call it plagiarism, but you can actually see that it comes from. You see the water gushing down there, and the splashes of water there. That's it there. Okay, then. I forgot to mention about when I was talking about the RDS, how much I missed the RDS craft competition, and when they asked us all to write, remember they gave us. I haven't met a craft person who wanted to change, not one person. And I think of how brilliant Veronica Rowe was. I never mentioned Veronica Rowe, that she would have discovered the award that was for lace there. Her family were very involved with Limerick Lace. They were great custodians and they had a lace school like that. But Veronica and the RDS were fantastic. You know what I mean? I say that Kathleen Flanagan was my first influence, and the RDS was definitely my second. It was monumentally important to me. Why was it monumentally important to me? Because they got the first of every new series I was doing. Every new series I was doing, they got the first one of that. You know what I mean? But it was never the finished one. It was always the first one, the experimental stage. You know what I mean? But they didn't get this because the competition had finished and that. But you can see where it came from there, from just straight from nature, just working it through there. Now, this is where I definitely get controversial. I think all lace was a happy accident. All lace was a happy accident in the hands of a pure needle woman. Okay, then. And Carrickmacross lace originally was just a plique muslin, okay, the outline and the pure work. You know what I mean? So that's what the very early Carrickmacross lace. The loops arrived slightly later. We don't know what date they arrived there. But if you look at the centre of that there, doesn't it look damn sight like loops? You see in the middle there, it looks really and truly like loops. Okay, then. And it comes from Anne Swift. She has she sells on Portobello Road, but she's got a great collection of all laces, and she would give loads of information of lace, and she put this. She said this is Carrick lace, definitely, and it was done for one of the Queen Victoria's. It was a hanky, putting lace in a hanky. Never understood. But anyway, so I do think it started as a lot of stitches started as a happy accident. You know what I mean? And I know it's controversial to say that, but I do think that's the start of the loops there. This one here is done that I did for the some of the vessel series, and how is a double loop done inside the second loop there. As you're making your first loop in Carrickmacross lace, for anybody who makes first loop, you know the way you put 3 stitches into Carrickmacross lace when you're doing your loops. You make your loop, your regular loop, and you put 1 stitch in it there. And then before you do your second stitch, you do another loop. And you put 2 grounding stitches in the other loop. And then you come out of that middle loop, the little loop, you know, in the center of it, and then you put a grounding stitch on the outside of it there. That's how come you get the double loop, one inside the other loop there. Okay, then. Again, this is just working on loops there. I'm going to the center one, and am I happy with this? This arrived to the house 2 days ago, or no, 2 weeks ago. I bought it online. Look at the loops. Look where the loops are. The loops are all in the center of it. The loops are all in the center of it there. So, and it's a really early Carrickmacross lace piece. And I think it was done before we actually put the loops at the edge. Do you know? So you see all the loops in the center. You see the loops flat. Loops are very controversial because people think that they should be done completely circle with three stitches, one on top of the other there. Do you know? And they should be touching each other. You know, absolutely. The loops evolve, and you can see the loops around the edge of that. There's just one in the center of the flower, one here, you know, there. So so this is really early Carrickmacross lace, and I do think when they added the netting to the lace, the netting was first done to reinforce the lace. Because if you go back to this piece here, it's weakest around where the applique, you know, but it wasn't really applique when they were. It's weakest around here where the muslin is there. So I think originally they used the netting to. So I'd love to find a piece like that. I'm sure at some stage you would find a piece, and then they started to add the netting and embellishing the netting and using the netting as part of it. So from when it was first conceived, Carrickmacross lace was always evolving. It was always evolving. The whole way along it was evolving there. And the more you look at early lace, the more you learn about lace, you know, and that's one lovely thing about the internet is you get to see particularly dealers who deal with it there. This is a lovely long piece. Some of the original tacking stitch, and they did tack with is in blue. So and the back of it is the very same as it there. And it's the loops. And the loop is the only stitch that's original to Carrickmacross lace. Okay, then. So you think of applique and that's foreign sounding, Guipure work is foreign sounding. So the loops by giving it the name, it tells you that it was made by you know, they invented it. That's why I think it was invented here in Ireland, and it's called loops, you know, and used in different ways. So this is going back to Patrick Kavanagh's poem, Applause, Applause, the Curtain Falls. Okay, then. And now when I say that, you can see the corrugated iron being part of the curtain there. It uses roots. I've used the roots of trees, which I've used before in other work, but the roots of the trees keep, if I attached the pops to the wrought iron there, it eventually would stain, but because it's attached to the roots, and then the roots are attached to the wrought iron there, it shouldn't stain. But I mean, who knows in time. So that's really the end of me talking about my own work, but I am just going to put up one thing here. I tried to write a thing and about Carrickmacross lace, but like everything else, it gets put on the shelf. This is going back to 1999. Okay, then when I was talking about Carrickmacross lace and how it needed to go into colleges. It has started going into colleges, but you can see there that I have mentioned that the two companies, that the ICA were really important in keeping the co-op going, you know what I mean? And your own Lace Guild here. And I mentioned you, can you see her name up there? It's written up there, and Sheila's name is up there. And this, because Mary O'Neill hadn't got her book going then. So it just actually talked about how important it was. It was called an educational proposal, you know, but like everything else, it got shelved, you know, but it does talk about how important groups like yourself were in keeping the lace alive. And that's my talk. If anybody wants to ask any questions or anything, or you're tired of listening to me to talk all day about my work. Yeah, okay.
Any questions?
It's just amazing your work. It's just, yeah, we're speechless. It's just amazing.
Well, it was always to find a new audience for the lace. You know what I mean? As I said, I sold my soul to the devil years ago. You know what I mean? It's just finding a new audience and finding an outlet for the lace as well. You know,
I think it's very interesting. Evolving is the word you use,
Mhm.
and I think as a guild we have to keep looking to the future and seeing how we can get traditional lace and put it in a more sort of modern context that can be sort of used in a multimedia facet like you've done there. It's inspirational. Thank you.
well, that's been done all along with the lace. So it had been. You think of Cole. Alan Cole, he was involved, and you think of great names like designer Jacob, Sarah Jacob, is that her name? Jacob, she was Limerick, or Cork, she did a lot of designing there. But all the time, you know, people came in and they saw how important it was just to you know, I do think that Carrickmacross lace survived because of relatively fast lace. Okay, then, but rather than redesigning for it being done kind of cheaper, they got rid of more and more of the motifs. So we were just left in harps and shamrocks, and that's when I came to Carrickmacross lace. When I started doing it, I was told that it had to have harps in it, and it had to have shamrocks on it. The loops had to be, you know, the technique. And I'm a great believer in technique. Do you know what I'm saying? But they seem to be more involved with techniques, you know, up in Carrick, and if it wasn't done this way, you know, and you couldn't change it, you simply couldn't change it, you couldn't change it, but always within the history of it, it has to change. And if you think of what they've done with the creative embroidery, or embroidery as they call it, textiles as it's called now, it's wide open. You see it in Collie, you know, you see, you know, like ceramics, like everything else like that. Yeah. But anyway.
Teresa, one year at the ODS, I had a piece of lace in, and it went on exhibition, but not prize when it did. So you can get your report from the examiner or the judging, and I got your report, and if you say it was an Irish person who does lace, it was not classed as Irish culture lace because there was no shamrock in it. Yeah. For the same thing, but it's ended in the country, they just have that.
Yeah. And if you look at early, I'm sure if you look at early, if you look at some early Irish Carrick laces, it wouldn't be a shamrock inside.
Oh, no, it was Irish,
Yeah.
never a shamrock.
Yeah.
It's shamrocks are big, definitely.
Yeah, that's it.
Theresa, I just wanted to say that
Yeah.
and I've been following you for a very, very long time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I followed your progress all the way, and I think you tell that story so well. But your whole ethos is based on, you know, how it was made. You discovered all the important things about it first, and then you pushed your art in. And I think that's the way to do it.
Well, you know, it only came from inspiration of people like you being in the RDS, you know what I mean, and seeing your award up there and the whole lot, you know what I mean, it all helped, you know what I mean, definitely. It's amazing, you know, yeah. Oh, well, I'm so lucky, I'm so lucky. I do see the lace, I always say it found me rather than me finding the lace, you know what I mean? I was so lucky to find it when I did. So I feel very thankful for that, and I call myself a Carrickmacross lacemaker because it pays great homage to those numerous people, all those lacemakers that never, you don't hear their names.
Yes.
You don't hear their names, you know.
Yes, so.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you for having me. Yeah.
Great. Yep, thank you, Teresa, and thank you everybody for coming. I hope you all enjoyed today. It was a nice short session, but that was an amazing talk. I really enjoyed that. And it should be recorded as well. Hopefully it's recorded well on the computer. So if anyone wants to go back, look at the photos, or relook at the talk, if the recording is good, we'll send it out to you. Great, thank you very much.